The
I agree
eternity of
with that
growth.
much, at least, for
All right.
sure. I'm on the same
So,
page about that.
so you
The-
nailed
you-
the new.
I think it also helps, by the way, if I might just interject,
Sure, sure,
if this is useful to you in the future. I always like
sure.
to start when I talk to some mathematical physicist by getting them to agree that physics is the study of the dynamics of bodies. And once you start there, it's like, okay, now we're always going to keep cycling back to that if necessary. Sorry, I didn't mean to just derail you. I want to hear
No,
about
no, that's
the
okay. I can see you're weaseling into our next book because I'm going to have to write more about you because
Oh man, don't worry about it. We'll write
I'm
our own
not
book.
only agreeing with you, I'm also seeing that you have other parts of wisdom that I would love to put in there. So
This is all we
I'd love
do.
to talk about that. But you're talking about magnetism. Lionel Denis came to us with his underwater experiments, which were literally his daughter's inflatable kiddie pool in his house. And he came up with one of the most astounding things I've ever seen. And so what he did is he had two cylinders in his first experiments, which were cylinders of wood, just about, like a cylinder, not too big, not too tall. And he put plastic hoses on them that you would use for hose and put a motor at the top. And he was able to spin those in water. Of course, the rough edges of wood spun the water. When he took two of those and then put them close to each other, and he spun them in the same direction, they would actually repel. Because what happens to the water?
Oh yeah. I love it. That's a beautiful demo. Yeah.
Would collide. When he did them in opposite directions, they would attract. And then he took it to another level, where he took two cylinders, put them sideways in the water, big hunky cylinders. Now he's in a bigger pool. He had to buy a bigger plastic pool. So he's out in his backyard and he's making these things spin. Very hard mechanically to do. He literally has them spinning on a pulley kind of system where they're literally spinning by a thing in the middle where it's rotating and it's spinning.
There's like a gerbil running in a cage over here, and
so
steam engines and stuff.
He puts those down in the water, and not only does he get the attraction and repulsion of magnets from that, he gets them is working exactly like dangling magnets that are bar magnets hanging next to each other. Identical behavior.
That's awesome.
And so that's where in our model, in the four universal motions, we have gravitic fields from Lesage. We have I call them the Denis effect, which are the magnetic fields, which are simply rotating particles. That's all it is. If you bring two of them together, they'll either attract or they'll attract. Bodies. Thank you. Thank you, bodies. Those bodies. My dad came up with the third universal movement in 2015, which are bodies traveling in waves of what we call light. It's not one particle. It's not in an ether. They're bodies of particles like bombers coming at you in waves. And the last one was my addition, which was electricity, which is basically bodies traveling together in a straight line. And so that's what we call electric, gravitic, luminic, which is a word I made up for luminous. So that is waves of bodies. And you have magnetic, which is just circular. Is the moon going around the earth a magnetic bodies? Yes, that's a magnetism if it's not being used very much. But if you were to have lots of these things happen. And so we collected Lesage, Denis, my father and myself. We saw that both that gravity travels at the speed of light. We've had that measured. Chinese have measured that during a full eclipse. We know that light travels obviously at the speed of light. We know that magnetism travels at the speed of light because we use magnets to accelerate particles to the speed of light. And we know electricity travels close to the speed of light. The other thing I came up in our model is if all these particles travel at the speed of light, they've got to be the same particle. So we have the same, body. So the same body that creates magnetism, the same body that creates light, the same body, the movement that creates electricity, and the same movement that creates magnetism are all the same body. They all travel at the speed of light. And that's just at our level of the universe. And that's what our model is about. The movement of the four universal physical movements. We came up with two of them. Lionel came up and Lesage came up with the other ones. And we can apply this to the subatomic level. And we get that's why the equation for Coulomb's law looks exactly the same, because it's the equation for for the Coulomb's law of attracting charges within the nucleus are exactly the same form as the equation for gravity. So it's a gravitic field. It's just not the same gravity. It's a smaller particle. We know it has to go faster than the speed of light. If light is a particle and it is curving, we know that it curves when it hits, it hits your pool, it curves. When it hits a prism, it curves, light curves. The only way something can curve in a physical world is something can move faster than it. What does that mean? We know there has to be something faster than light.